Welcome back to the show, everybody. Check out the headlines we got for you today. ISO20022 postponed. We'll get into it. SEC objection to summary judgment from Ripple. We're going to get into a piece of that, ladies and gentlemen. You're going to want every single bit of it. And there's another Amicus brief filing in support of Ripple and XRP. You're going to want it. I don't know if this has ever happened in history like this before. And by the way, is XRP an IOU? And is an IOU money? And does that make XRP money? We got that and technical analysts looking at XRP price breaking to the downside. When moon? Somebody roll that beautiful intro.
Digital Perspectives with Brad Kimes. Come on in.
Welcome back to the show, everybody. You can follow us on TikTok, YouTube, Twitter, and Facebook for exclusive content. $959 billion market cap. We're up 1.5% on the market right now. Bitcoin, 19,100 plus. Ethereum, just over $1,300. XRP is at 46 cents this morning. We're off by 4.6% on the 7-day, just so you know. Let's go ahead and get started here. This is from Gabor Gerbox, and shout out to Jedi for sending this over here. You know, I am a huge fan of Milton Friedman, and this is an excellent clip on inflation, which we are all being touched with around the world. Take a listen to this clip here.
Inflation is the most destructive disease known to modern societies. There is nothing which will destroy a society so thoroughly and so fully as letting inflation run riot. Inflation doesn't arise because you got consumers who are spendthrift. They've always been spendthrift. It doesn't arise because you've got the businessmen who are greedy. They've always been greedy. Inflation arises because we as citizens have been asking you as politicians to perform an impossible task. We've been asking you to spend somebody else's money on us, but not to spend our money on anybody else. Everybody talks against inflation, but what he means is that he wants the prices of the things he sells to go up and the prices of the things he buys to go down. The real tax on the American people is not what you label taxes. It's total spending. If Congress spends $50 billion more than it takes in, if government spends $50 billion, who do you suppose pays that $50 billion?
Of course.
The Arab sheiks aren't paying it. Santa Claus isn't paying it. The Tooth Fairy isn't paying it. You and I, as taxpayers, are paying it indirectly through hidden taxation.
Now, that was the one and only Milton Friedman right there, and I don't think anybody says it any better. But I'm going to tell you, that does set up what I want to talk about, which is my sponsor, Glint, right? And that's why I asked him, I said to him, I said, so Jason Cousins, the CEO of Glint, shout out to him. I said, you know, I love Glint and I love using it, and it's physically allocated gold that you own, and you can use a debit card to spend it like money. Are you going to get things like silver? Because I get people to ask me if they're adding these other products onto the card. And what he said was remarkable, and I want you to listen to it, because this is not a speculative product that he's offering here. What he's offering is exactly what Milton Friedman talks about, and what Glint offers solves that problem. Take a listen to what he says and listen to how passionate he is about it.
So people ask me all the time, why don't we add silver onto the platform? And like, why would you want to add silver onto the platform? Gold's the ultimate form of money. The only reason we introduced silver and other metals like copper and nickel into the equation was because gold was so valuable, we couldn't exactly chop some of that off to pay for our chickens. So these other inferior metals were introduced in order to deal with small denominations. But of course, what Glint has done is enabled any amount of gold to be spent or to be received for payment. And so, you know, you can spend as little as 1 cent's worth of gold, 1 pence worth of gold. You can send that 1 cent or 1 pence to somebody else. So we've solved that problem. You can have any amount of gold. So we don't need these inferior forms of money. And look, I understand and I get why people would like to have silver on the platform, because, you know, they're speculating that the price of silver might go up. They look at the ratios of gold to silver historically, and they're like, you know, gosh, you know, silver's going to go up. That's speculation. And we're not building a speculating machine. We're building the world's most reliable form of money. That's what we're aiming to do. We're building a gold-based alternative to payments and to banking. Look, of course, of course that there are fluctuations and things, but when you're trying to give people real choice outside of the banking system, when you're trying to give somebody a chance of being able to fight inflation, to protect themselves from systemic risk, about the risks that I see coming forward with the introduction of central banking digital currencies, you've got to choose what you believe is the ultimate store of value. And we see that as gold. And with the technology, we've enabled it as money. So we can't get involved in adding other things onto the platform. We're not adding cryptocurrencies. We're not adding silver. We'll do all kinds of innovations around this product. Yes, we're building a crypto bridge that allows you to buy gold with cryptocurrencies, but we're keeping gold as that ultimate focus for the business. We want to be the best in the world at that. We're the first company in the world to enable physical gold as money, and that's what we're going to stay with.
Man, I love that guy's passion, and I love using Glint. I tell you, shout out to my sponsor, Jason Cousins, right there, laying it down, baby. Check out the link underneath the video. And if you're an accredited investor in the U.S., you can participate in the fundraise that they're doing. And if you're outside the U.S., you could look through Cedars, click the link on either Glint's page profile or click the link underneath my profile on Twitter. Check them out, everybody. News update right now, ladies and gentlemen. ISO20022 postponement. Eurosystem delays T2 wholesale payment system launch after Target 2 migration. Swift changeover is also in the balance, notes Germany's Finanzinzi or Sinan. I can't even say it. It's horrible. I can't do it. It's my fault. I can't do it. But I'll tell you this, there's a delay. But here's what I'll say. I'm so positive about where this whole space is going to, and certainly where I've laid a few of my nets in the water. There's no guarantee here. I'm prepared to go hero or zero, right? But when I see postponed, I don't see canceled, right? So I feel like Jim Carrey in Dumb and Dumber. Hey, what are my chances? She says 1 in a million. And he says, so you're saying I still have a chance? And that's kind of where I'm at here, because it's hero or zero for me. And it's not like that for everybody out here. So make sure you understand the risk you're taking in this space. I'm still excited. Oh, I tell you, the SEC uses the opinion of CoinCenter to try to mislead the court, attributing to a Ripple employee. Oh, my gracious. For example, the SEC cites at 43 what it purports to be suggestions by Ripple's former chief compliance officer, Antoinette O'Gorman, that XRP had certain securities type characteristics. The SEC misreads these statements. O'Gorman was relaying the opinion of a third party, CoinCenter, that XRP appeared to have certain securities types characteristics. O'Gorman herself disagreed. What a mess this has all become, and I cannot wait for the next video from John Deaton and Attorney Hogan to get even more information about what's going on here, because the SEC has filed its memorandum in opposition to the Ripple defendants' motion for summary judgment, ladies and gentlemen. Now, I will spare you going through all of this, and I will tell you that I have found a couple things that support their findings. Now, this is remember, both of them submitted their summary judgment, right? And now that they've had a chance to look at each other's argument, this is their response to each other's argument in summary judgment. That's how we understand it. Well, we're going to get into that in just 1 second, but I want to show you this from Jeremy Hogan, who will be putting out a video, he says, later today, probably this evening. It's got a lot going on. The SEC fails to adequately address the post-loss obligation argument as raised by Ripple. I kept waiting for a slew of cases in which appellate courts have found no obligations necessary and nothing. Game-changing argument by Ripple, he says. XRP Crypto Wolf says, do you believe the SEC will immediately try to appeal after Ripple wins the XRP lawsuit? Now, I didn't see a response from Jeremy on that particular question, but I did see here one that I feel, first of all, I do think there's a high possibility that we see a decision that splits the baby the way John Deaton has suggested. SEC could get a huge fine. Ripple could be granted the permission to go forward, and the fine could be for early sales of XRP and not going forward, present day and future. Both sides win in that situation. And the SEC, yes, could appeal the decision. However, as I understand it, and so does Common Sense Investing, says, yes, but during the appeal, exchanges are able to relist XRP in that situation since judgment was handed down. And I think that's exactly what we see. And I've suggested many times on here, we're talking about a currency, a money that is not backed by a government like the fiat dollars of the world. Right? And if that's the case, then the safest thing for a country to do is to get a decision where there's clarity going forward, right? But maybe appeal it from the agency, the SEC, to the Supreme Court, so you can have this legal leash that revisits this in a couple years, 2 or 3 years' time, allowing Ripple and XRP to be used, adopted, and move forward, and revisit it legally in a couple years to make sure everything's going right with this non-state-backed currency, maybe. We'll get into that more in a second here. This is a reminder of just what was found. We covered this yesterday from Ripple's objection to summary judgment. They have emails they're citing here with reasonable grounds to conclude XRP, emails from the SEC, by the way, where they say XRP does not satisfy the elements of the Howey analysis and therefore is not a security. Oh my gosh, do I hope we get to see inside of these emails, ladies and gentlemen. And that was from communications. I don't know specifically if those emails were Hinman emails or just SEC communications. I believe they were just SEC communications. So we hope that the Hinman email drafts yield even more, whether we get to see them or not. And then there was this. Spend the Bits has filed its application to file an amicus brief. Shout out to James K. Filing. Boy, this guy goes on vacation and doesn't get to take a vacation. Boy, do I know what that's like. And I'm going to get into a piece of this that I think is very interesting here. When they go to give the affidavit here from the CEO of Spend the Bits, he breaks down here, if you didn't know, and I've known from Chris Larson years ago, said you could have Bitcoin on the ledger since 2014. And how do you do it? 100% of STB, which is Spend the Bits revenue, is from Bitcoin. However, Spend the Bits purchase a diminutive amount of XRP from the secondary market on the same third-party platform I've purchased other cryptocurrencies such as Bitcoin, XLM, or Ether in order to pay for the essential XRP Ledger wallet activation fee. Spend the Bits has made a significant investment in developing technology platform to accept and process Bitcoin payments using the XRP Ledger, ladies and gentlemen. There's your evidence right there. Spend the Bits has been built, deployed on layer 1 XRP Ledger. It goes on here. Spend the Bits, an application allows user onboarding without requiring the use of any particular currency. Although at present, Spend the Bits only facilitates Bitcoin payments. Once the user account creation process is complete, the user funds their STB Bitcoin provided wallet with Bitcoin from another wallet on Bitcoin. But listen to here what goes down. The transfer of Bitcoin between Spend the Bits wallets utilizes the XRP Ledger as follows. Boy, you talk about use case. Take a listen here. STB, I'm going to skip ahead just so you get these parts that matter here, right? Creates an equivalent amount of Bitcoin IOUs on the XRP Ledger using the remaining Bitcoin in the user's Spend the Bits Bitcoin wallet. These IOUs have a legal obligation for redemption with the third-party custodian BitGo. This obligation is also true for Spend the Bits to Spend the Bits wallets transfers. Let's stop there. IOUs, ladies and gentlemen. And what have I been saying? That there is this little teeny thing here called the Reeves test. When something is a note that was derived from Reeves versus Ernst & Young. Now, I'm not a lawyer. But I find it awful funny that it was in the first filing of summary judgment by the SEC, and now it's referenced again, as many other different case laws are referenced, obviously. But specifically, I pick up the point that the Reeves versus Ernst & Young, which follows the Reeves test, which is where it came from, is really in combatants to the argument that that Ripple has made about blue sky laws, saying, you know, you can't even look at the Howey test because of the blue sky laws. There is no investment contract. Well, in a rebuttal to that, you have the Joyner referenced here. You have this case law referenced here, and Reeves referenced here. The maturity of the notes, however, is a question of federal law. We are unpersuaded by Congress intended Securities Act to apply differently to the same transactions depending on the accident of which state laws happen to apply. So they're citing Reeves as well as these other two case laws here because of the argument being made by Ripple about blue sky laws and Howey, right? So it shows that there's relevance to the SEC in the argument that they're making here. But what are IOUs? Are banknotes IOUs? You can think of money as a special type of IOU, one that's accepted by everyone, which is interesting because in the affidavit, we see here that they're creating IOUs on the XRP ledger. And I don't know about you, that makes it money at my house. That's how I see that. Now, again, I'm not a lawyer, but this gets quite interesting. It gets very, very interesting, and I will be interested to see what the judge does in this case and whether it has any weight in her decision on what goes down. And certainly remember, you know, the early days of Ripple sales, of Ripple having XRP sales could be very different than the XRP sales from today moving forward. Keep that in mind. Let's take a look now very quickly here from EggRag Crypto, 4-hour update. XRP still ranging, but might break to the downside to complete the pattern. So far, the white pattern is playing out as expected, but also the green pattern might emerge for a push to 48 cents, then continue similar trajectory. We just take a quick look at this. You can see the colors here, and we'll keep an eye on the white and the possible green and what could take place here. And obviously none of these things could take place because charts are a living, breathing representation of the market, right? Anything can happen. But if we break down to the downside here, don't tell Mrs. Backup, but I'm going to be getting another bag. Then there's this, the reset chart, and targets $27 to $200, assuming 3,400 days before clarity and second party is after clarity. Based on clarity designations for XRP, the adoption rate will be faster, which is the XRP halving, he says, cutting the duration into half, 1,700 days. So taking a look at this, if we basically get good news and a decision that frees XRP, then you can see a repeat of that fractal is what it looks like to me. And that is how they really see, as technical analysts, this journey that could take us to a 1,700-day run with this fractal and take us all the way up to over $200 possibly. One thing I want to point to about all that, look, no one knows what's going to happen, and I appreciate these technical analysts. This market, whether it's XRP or other digital assets, is so early, it's very difficult to know which way it'll go. You know, we're all trying to do our best to gather all the information and give ourselves the best window of outcome to the upside or the down, right? So we can understand how long a road we got to hoe. But one thing I do know is that with everything that we've witnessed and what's going on out here, I do feel like we are getting very close to a resolution to this case, especially understanding that the Hinman emails have been turned over, albeit confidentially, to Ripple camp. That to me, and I'm not a lawyer, but tells me that there are settlement talks that are engaged in, or they're about to be very soon. And if they are, it doesn't mean things will be over by next Tuesday, right? It just means that we are absolutely working on getting a resolution in this case, because I am pretty damn sure that the SEC doesn't want us seeing those emails. Don't forget, not your keys, not your crypto, and you can buy your crypto through Ledger Live on your phone. Download the app and it goes straight to your cold storage wallet. Does it get any safer than that? I'm not sure it does. Not financial advice from me or anyone else. I'll catch all of you on the next one.